Hope you enjoy listening to the story. I accidentally picked up my boyfriend's phone, and as a result, I saw a message from his ex-girlfriend that she had forgotten to take her medicine that night. Just one short sentence sent a chill down my spine. The other day I had acute gastritis. The pain was unbearable. He was working overtime at the company. I called him dozens of times but couldn't get through. Enduring the pain at 3 a.m., I took a taxi to the hospital alone. It turned out that his phone was turned off and he hadn't come home all night. It was because he went to see his ex-girlfriend. Today is the night before my wedding with Tong Ha-I. His ex-girlfriend, Tran Jai, insisted on coming with a group of old friends to celebrate. As soon as I pushed the door open and entered, I saw Tran Jai tiptoeing and kissing Tong Ha-I on the lips. He didn't dodge at all. Even when she lost her balance, he gently held her waist. That gentle action was completely different from the coldness he had shown me in recent days. The old friends around me joined in the laughter, as if this scene was already familiar to them, nothing strange. Their laughter was ear-piercing, as if someone was choking my throat, making it almost impossible for me to breathe. Chu-ti, someone called my name when they saw me walk in. A sudden statement not only caused the two people to immediately separate, but also the entire room turned to look at me. Tran Jai intentionally let out a surprised cry. She hurriedly walked in front of me, her face still red. We just played a big challenge game. Tong Ha-I and I lost, that's why. Don't misunderstand. I looked at her, unable to believe what I heard. I had gone out for a bit earlier, and on my way back I suddenly received a friend request on WeChat with the note saying Tran Jai. As soon as I accepted, she sent an intimate photo of her and Tong Ha-I. Guess what we're doing? Then immediately retract the message. Then act like nothing happened, send another sentence, happy wedding. But now she could calmly explain as if she wasn't the one who sent the provocative message. The one who was being unreasonable and making a fuss was me. As if afraid that I wouldn't believe her, Tran Jai suddenly grabbed my wrist, intending to say something more. I jerked my hand away. She stumbled back a few steps just in time. She fell into Tong Ha-I's outstretched arms. It was raining outside, my feet were wet and slippery, hitting the edge of the table. The sound of the fall was not loud, but the whole room suddenly became eerily quiet. Someone picked up my phone and quietly placed it on the table. At this moment, Tong Ha-I suddenly woke up and ran to help me. I found it funny. She endured the pain and stood up, avoiding his outstretched hand. I took a deep breath, looked straight at him and asked, Tong Ha-I, if I tell you she just texted me to provoke me saying that Chu-ti, it was just a game. Tong Ha-I coldly interrupted me. His voice was still even, but impatience was evident in his eyes. I held back. The pain from my ankle gradually spread to my brain, transmitting to every nerve. Only then did I slowly but clearly feel the pain and humiliation. I could not bear it any longer. I grabbed the phone and ran into the bathroom. I turned on the faucet and splashed cold water on my face like crazy, trying to get rid of the feeling of difficulty breathing and stinging in my eyes. Suddenly the phone vibrated. The message that appeared on the screen was from Tran Jai, but I had not saved her number. I held her for a few seconds before realizing it. Because I was in such a hurry to leave, I had mistakenly taken Tong Ha-I's phone. When I came to, I had opened the chat window between him and Tran Jai. The latest message was clearly visible. That night, the story about you forgetting to take your medicine. Just a few short words, but they made me shiver. So while I was busy preparing for the wedding, worrying about every little thing, they slept together. The light from above shone down on my phone screen, making me squint. Because of him going there, some vague memories gradually emerged in my mind. The day before yesterday, after work, I rushed to the hotel to arrange everything for the wedding. Before I could eat anything, a stomachache suddenly came. Tong Ha-I said he was working overtime at the company. I called him dozens of times, but none of them connected. The pain was excruciating, so I gritted my teeth and endured it. At 3 a.m., I took a taxi to the hospital by myself. It turned out that he turned off his phone and was out of contact all night just to go see her. My heart ached like it was being torn apart. I didn't know how I could continue reading those messages. Scrolling to a chat, my hand stopped. A week ago, Tran Jai sent him a picture of a rumored cat. Our son is getting cuter and cuter, ha ha ha. He just replied with a single word. Then he changed his phone wallpaper to a picture of the cat they used to have together. My mind went blank. I didn't notice anyone approaching until my phone was snatched from my hand. Tong kept looking at me, his face cold as ice, his voice losing some of its warmth. Did she intentionally take the wrong phone? I looked into those familiar yet now unfamiliar eyes. The nerves that had been tense for a long time finally snapped. As for you, aren't you going to explain anything? Just now when you two kissed you said it was because you were playing a game. What about these messages? And the wallpaper? It was a picture of my furball before, why did it change to the picture she sent him? I trembled as I pointed at the screen, my voice hoarse and choked. The truth was right in front of me, yet I still foolishly expected an explanation from him. But he didn't say anything, just turned off the screen, looking at me expressionlessly. He was best at being silent. In the past, Tong Hoi pursued me for a long time. I agreed to date him because of the cotton ball. My parents divorced when I was little. My grandmother raised me single-handedly. Before she died, she left the cotton ball behind, saying that it would always be by my side in her place. That night I took the cotton ball for a walk, and just by being absent-minded for a moment, it got lost. I turned the whole park upside down looking for it, until I was exhausted and collapsed on the ground, hugging my pillow and crying in despair. It was Tong Hoi who found the cotton ball for me. At that time he was holding the little dog, breathing heavily, but his voice was very gentle. While jogging, he saw a man holding a cotton ball walking very quickly. He must be a dog lover. I was both happy and scared, tears just kept flowing. Don't cry anymore. Tong Hoi was a clean person, but at that moment, he didn't hesitate to sit on the ground next to me. He was silent for a long time, then sighed softly. If you cry, he wouldn't know what to do. The moon shone on his side face, he looked at me, his eyes gentle and sincere. Cotton ball will always be with you. Me too. From that day on we officially became together. During the 3 years we were together, Tong Hoi was always very good to me. We have all gone through the things a couple should do. Until 2 months ago, I agreed to his proposal when his ex-girlfriend from college, Tran Jai, suddenly returned. First I was also worried. To reassure me, every time Tran Jai called or came to the company to look for her, Tong Hoi told me the whole story. He had tried very hard to prove to me that there was nothing left between them. But now, when he witnessed the two of them kissing, when he saw him change the picture of the cotton ball to the picture she sent, I realized that Song Hui had never truly forgotten her. I knew I shouldn't cry, but the tears kept falling. In the end I cried so much that I couldn't breathe, my whole body shaking. Tong Hoi was silent for a long time, then suddenly said, maybe you don't know, but now seeing you cry like this I don't feel anything. His voice was very soft, as if he was just stating the truth, that he didn't love me anymore. At that moment my whole world collapsed. I don't know how much time passed, but I received a voice message from my best friend, telling me that she knew what had happened. Even though we were separated by a phone screen, I could still feel the regret in her voice. I held her for a few seconds, then I gradually understood everything. Back then I went hiking with a friend, but on the way back we couldn't find a taxi. She asked her brother to pick her up. My best friend is the daughter of a remarried family. Her brother had always lived abroad and had just returned to the country, so I had never met him. Unexpectedly, when she called him, he couldn't reach her. So my friend asked a friend who lived near Tong Hoi to pick him up instead. And that's how I got to know him. Maybe that's why she feels so torn now. Right after that, she sent another message, don't go anywhere. We'll come pick you up at the hotel right away. I didn't have the mind to think about who the word we meant. I washed my face, stood up, and prepared to leave this place. As I turned around, I was surprised to see Tran Jai, who had come out at some point. She was standing behind Tong Hoi, quietly looking at me, her eyes filled with pity. Added to that was a bit of mockery and even contempt. I was used to that kind of gaze. Over the past 2 months, she had deliberately created many unexpected meetings. Every time like that, she used that ambiguous, provocative gaze to look at me. At that time I couldn't understand why Tong Hoi was always cold to her, to the point of being almost cruel. So why could she be so sure, determined to have him? Until a month ago, the first time Tong Hoi brought me home to meet his parents. During the meal, his mother served me fish and unconsciously called me Tran Jai. She didn't even realize she had made a mistake. Jai Jai, this fish is delicious, eat more. My hands were shaking so much that I couldn't even hold the chopsticks. At that moment, his mother's loving gaze coincided with Tran Jai's gaze when facing me. When we returned to the room, Tong Haoai immediately hugged me from behind, wide and sincere. My mother is old and has a poor memory. It was just an accident. Can you forgive her? I just asked you one question. How many times has Tran Jai lowered himself to find him? Has he ever made a move? He was silent for a long time. Finally, he leaned close to my hand, whispering very slowly but surely, "Wife, now in my heart there is only you." His voice was calm, mixed with a hint of helplessness, which made it impossible for me to continue to doubt. But that night we did not say another word. He even used the excuse of having to handle work and slept in the study. My thoughts brought me back to reality. I looked at the two of them in front of me with a blank gaze. The pain of betrayal, like sharp cuts, was only subtle at first, but then flared up fiercely in every detail that I had previously overlooked. Tong Haoai was my first love, the only person I thought I would be with for the rest of my life. But I was nothing to him. Not my first love nor my last. The person I loved from beginning to end was only Tran Long. When I passed by Tong Haoai, I tried to suppress all my emotions and stay calm. Cancel tomorrow's wedding. When we get home tonight, we'll explain it to both sets of parents. Luckily, we haven't registered our marriage yet. They'll understand. Without waiting for him to speak, I turned around and left. When I stepped out of the hotel, I realized that the rain had not stopped. Thick fog covered the air, making the sky white. The sky was getting darker and the cold was creeping into my bones. I looked at my phone, not knowing what to expect. No messages. An umbrella covered my head, cutting through the wind and rain. The person holding the umbrella had a white, slender hand, holding the handle very firmly. I paused. That was my best friend who had just arrived. Xiao Xiao. My eyes were not those deep black eyes, but the understanding in the back of my throat was immediately swallowed back. Xinjingyan. Perhaps because he tilted his umbrella slightly towards me. His hair got caught in the rain, a little wet. He lowered his head to look at me, his voice light, understanding that I was waiting in the car. I was a little stunned. Even though he was Xiao Xiao's older brother, we had almost no significant interaction. At most we could only be considered to be superficial acquaintances. I didn't expect him to come pick me up with Xiao Xiao. I was about to open my mouth when I suddenly felt a cold gaze on my back. Following my reflexes, I turned around. General Haoai was standing in front of the hotel door, expressionlessly staring at us. I calmly withdrew my gaze, then followed the judge into the car. As soon as I sat inside, the phone rang. It was my mother calling. Xiao Song had just called her. Just a small matter. Saying no to marriage means no to marriage. Do you want to make your mother angry to death to be satisfied? From the front of the car came the sound of the engine starting up. Tam Tri Nian held the steering wheel. His angular face under the dim light looked cold and distant. My mother was silent for a few seconds as if trying to contain her anger. Let's go home and talk to your father. After saying that, she hung up. His mother, Hugh, grabbed my hand with a cold, complicated look in her eyes. I shook my head slightly, was silent for a moment, then smiled. It's okay, I'm used to it. Since my parents each had a new family, my mother had another son, and my father had another daughter. I had long since gotten used to being ignored and cold. On the way, Xiao Xiao told me that she and her brother were eating at a nearby restaurant just now, so she had time to run over. Then she seemed to accidentally add another sentence. It was my brother who took the initiative to suggest going with me. When we got to my father's house, it was still early. My mother was sitting on the sofa, her face as heavy as thread. My father sat opposite, holding a cigarette. He didn't see my stepmother and half-sister, so they must have been avoiding me for the time being. Hearing me open the door and enter, my mother gave a command and turned to my father, speaking sarcastically. Just because of a game you want to cancel the wedding? If not your son, then who? My father did not answer, just put out the cigarette and asked me, "Have you decided?" I nodded, my voice resolute. Yes, I will bear all the consequences myself. I did not agree. My mother's anger finally exploded. Don't get up and point your finger at me and scold me like you're pouring water on me. The invitations have been sent out, now I say no to the wedding, then no to the wedding. If I had known, I wouldn't have given birth to a shameful child like you. Even though I was mentally prepared, hearing that still made my heart ache like a knife. Mom, it's not just a game. I also saw messages between Tong Haoi and her on his phone. I looked at my mother, saying each word clearly. The night before yesterday they slept together. My mother looked at him with surprise, but quickly dismissed it. Impossible, Xiao Song was such a good person. Just now he promised to help my brother solve his job problem. There's no way he would do such a thing. I looked at my mother, unable to believe it. I felt like I couldn't even breathe. Perhaps my mother also realized that she had just said something wrong. Her lips moved to explain. But she couldn't say anything enough. My grandmother suddenly raised her voice, showing her frustration. The girl had made up her mind. Are you still pretending to be a good person? My mother seemed to have found a place to vent her anger, and immediately sneered. When he was 5 years old we divorced and the court ordered you to raise the child. But what could you do? You gave him to an old woman in the countryside to raise, and you quickly remarried. When his mother-in-law passed away, he reluctantly helped her move back to the city. But just because the dog she left behind barked a few times at his new daughter, he immediately wanted to sell it and forced her to move out. She pointed to the picture of the happy family of 3 on the wall and smiled bitterly. The 3 of you living together happily. He dared to say, after his daughter with his second wife was born, did he still have this daughter in his heart? My grandmother felt like she had been stabbed in a sore spot, her eyes red with anger, but she did not deny it. He said, what right did she have to blame me? She was no different now, only knowing how to pamper the son she gave birth to later. The 2 of them continued to tease each other, completely unaware that I had returned to the living room. I did not have my own room here, but because we were preparing for the wedding, my father had temporarily arranged a room for me to pick up the groom from the bride's family the next day. The room was so quiet that all she could hear was her own breathing. Her phone suddenly rang. Tranjai texted, "We're going to karaoke. Do you want to come?" She then sent a photo of herself at the technician's office. In the photo, Tranjai is holding a microphone, the corners of his lips are curved. His eyes are looking gently at Tong Haoi, who is sitting on the sofa. Tong Haoi's angle is a bit dark, so I can't see his expression clearly, but I can imagine that his eyes are probably full of gentleness and happiness. The 2 of them look at each other, while the old friends around them are no different from the background. The screen is displaying the lyrics of an old song. I love you, I still want to love you again. Don't let the past fill the future, and don't leave any gaps. He wanted tomorrow to be something to look forward to love again from the beginning. I thought I would burst into tears, but strangely enough, I was surprisingly calm. Calmly blocking Tranjai. Calmly calling each and every guest to cancel the entire wedding. After informing the last person, the phone suddenly rang. It was Song Haoi. A loud noise came from the other end of the line. Song Haoi was silent for a long time, then a cold voice came through. Are you serious? I didn't want to say anything more, just coldly replied with an yes, then decisively hung up. Just as I was about to turn it off, a message from the judge arrived, telling me to remember to apply medicine to the wound on my ankle. I held on for a long time. When I fell at the hotel, my ankle was hit by the desk. The wound was quite deep. I had been trying to endure it. Tong Haoi didn't recognize it, and neither did my parents. But he did. There were a lot of miscellaneous things in this room. I tried searching through the drawer and really found a first aid kit. I don't know if it was because of the judge's reminder that comforted me, but when I treated the wound, I was so careful that I didn't hear the knock on the door. The person who came was Song Hui. The cotton swab and the ointment fell to the floor with a powdery sound. My mother stood behind him, ignoring my surprised gaze. She still didn't believe that little Tong would do anything wrong to her son. Just when he came over, the 2 of us sat down and talked things out. After she finished speaking, she closed the door, leaving me and Tong Haoi in the room. His eyes stopped at my ankle. His voice was a little hesitant. Were you hurt just now? Did you fall? He placed his hand on my cold hand, softly said sorry. He didn't notice at the time. That warm feeling made me instantly stiffen. Almost reflexively, I forcefully pulled my hand back. You go out. Perhaps because my attitude was too cold, Tong Haoi was momentarily stunned, but quickly regained his composure. Uncle T, marriage is not a joke. Can't you give me even a chance to explain? Explain why you didn't push her away when Tranjai kissed you? Or why you didn't pick up the phone the other night, leaving me alone and running to her? Uncle T, you and her. When I needed to hear your explanation the most, you chose to stay silent. I coldly interrupted. The apologies and explanations came too late. They had no meaning anymore. Tong Haoi was clearly stunned for a moment. TT, believe it or not, things between me and her are not what you think. I looked at him without saying anything. Recently, my company had a big problem with a project. The night before yesterday, I was in a meeting almost all night. My phone was left in the office and it died because of a power outage. It's not that I intentionally didn't answer your call. I also didn't go to find her at all. The story about the phone wallpaper at the hotel was because a friend stole the phone, maybe it was changed at that time. Then we both got the wrong phone. I don't know what she sent you. When he saw it, it only showed a message that had been withdrawn. I deserved it back. Tranjai had indeed done that. Because of the project and the wedding, I've been tired and in a bad mood these past few days, so it's my fault that I treated you badly. He loosened his tie slightly, a look of regret flashing in his eyes. When his old friend started making a fuss, his mind became even more confused. I don't know why, but he forgot to push her away. The more I listened to his words, the more empty I felt. Then there really was nothing between him and her anymore. Tong Haoi gently placed his hand on the back of my hand. After about 2 seconds of silence, I withdrew my hand. Tong Haoi, not sleeping with her doesn't mean it's not a betrayal. It doesn't mean you can act like nothing happened. Coldness and silence are also a stab. You can gently talk about that wound, but I can't. Maybe you don't know. I clenched my hands, took a deep breath to calm my emotions, then spoke with difficulty. His gaze towards her was so gentle. Tong Haoi was stunned. He must have forgotten, whether consciously or unconsciously. He had said with his own mouth that now, no matter how much I cried, he wouldn't feel anything. He was about to say something, but I interrupted him. If you don't plan on leaving, then let me go. Having said that, I opened the door and walked straight out of the room. Behind me, I heard his hoarse voice, "Don't go." I didn't expect to see Tam Tri Nian in the living room downstairs. He sat on the sofa, absent-mindedly playing with his phone. On the table in front of him was a pile of ointment. Seeing me come out, Tam Tri Nian was somewhat helpless. Hugh was worried when she heard that I was injured, and asked me to bring medicine for her. I was stunned, unable to look, and burst out laughing. I was about to say that I had already applied the medicine when I felt a gaze from the side, half smiling, half mocking. It turned out that Tranjai was also there. She found her way to my house? Tranjai walked slowly closer, a smile of unknown emotion on her face. "Oh, you seem to be in a good mood. Are you having sex with Tong Haoi?" I also smiled lightly, remembering you, answering her with a deeper meaning. She thought the two of them were in the room for so long. What would they do? Tranjai paused, perhaps imagining something, looking at me. At first, I just wanted to respond because of the time she provoked me, but seeing her increasingly unsightly expression, I found this really boring. Tong Haoi also walked out. "Why haven't you guys left yet?" The sentence was clearly directed at Tranjai and Tam Chi Nian. Tam Chi Nian did not react, and Tranjai could not stand it anymore. Called me to explain to her parents. Now that the two of them are working together, they turned their backs on each other and refused to admit it. Tong Haoi did not respond, which was considered tacit admission. Seeing his attitude towards Tranjai, I did not understand what he wanted. Finally, Tranjai could not bear it any longer and burst out. "Tong Haoi, you shouldn't treat me like that." She stood still, her arrogance completely gone, leaving only a weak, desperate voice. "Tong Haoi, do you really not need me anymore?" Tong Haoi did not answer, just gently placed his hand on my waist, as if wanting to hug me. Tranjai suddenly laughed, then calmly took out a piece of paper from his pocket and presented it to me. It was a pregnancy test form. Tranjai's name was clearly written on it. She was 1 month pregnant. It was true that the night before yesterday we did nothing. Tranjai looked at me slowly, her smile deepening. Like a month ago, the day the two of us went out drinking, he went out drinking. A boot sounded in my head. I stiffly turned to look at Tong Haoi. He was staring at the paper, his face turning pale in an instant. At that moment I felt like my throat was stuffed with wet cotton, and then turned into sharp needles, piercing every inch of my flesh, causing me to feel so much pain that I couldn't breathe. His reaction said it all, and a red light flashed across Song Huai's eyes. He looked like he wanted to explain, but couldn't find any words to justify himself. I clearly felt something inside me slowly dying. In the end, all that was left was a feeling of disgust. Tong Haoai, no one forced you to forget her. He could have been completely faithful to the feelings of both of them, but why did he have to get involved with me? That night he drank too much, he still tried to justify. I tearfully interrupted, don't say things like it was just an accident, thinking she was me. I don't even have the courage to admit it, it only makes me despise you more. Tong Haoai's face turned pale, standing there dumbfounded. After my grandmother passed away, Tong Haoai was the best person to me. Or maybe it was because I always cherished and valued him too much that I exaggerated his good qualities. But, is it because I lack affection that I have to let him hurt me? Don't I deserve a pure and complete love? I don't know how much time passed, but Tong Haoai softly said, I'm sorry. The light in the room dimmed, he turned around and walked away step by step. When his figure disappeared, the long-legged girl turned to look at me, smiling smugly, her carefully painted moon-like face showing her arrogance. Do you understand now? You can never win against me. I looked at her, silently saying nothing. Suddenly I wondered if she was really Song Huai's college classmate? Could it be that someone like this could even go to college? Before I could open my mouth, a low male voice rang out from behind me. If the pregnancy is already a month old, for the sake of the future child, I advise you to go to the hospital soon for a comprehensive CT or MRI examination. What do you mean by long legs and high eyebrows? Shen Jinyan calmly replied, when the brain shows signs of dysfunction, only a thorough examination can determine the specific pathology, to know if there is a risk of migration. I held back and couldn't help but laugh out loud. Only then did Chan Dai react, damn it, are you mocking me for being mentally ill? Shen Jinyan didn't deny it. Even if he couldn't fully recover, he should still receive active treatment. Chan Dai angrily left. When I left the door, I was still muttering curses, looking like someone else's dog that couldn't argue with my fluffy dog. I laughed so hard that my stomach hurt, and it took me a while to stop. When I turned around, I realized that the judge was still looking at me. Seeing me looking back, he remained calm. Rest. I have completed the task Hugh gave me, it is time to go home. I went out to the balcony, watched his car disappear from sight, and slowly let out a breath. Just returned to the room and received a call from Xiao Xiao. Chan Dai, are you really pregnant? I paused, then told her everything that had just happened. Finally, I didn't forget to compliment her. Your brother is really the best, he doesn't leave any loopholes when scolding people. Xiao Xiao immediately discovered something unusual. Wait, I came to your house, he said he had to go back to the company. From that day on, I moved to Xiao Xiao's house, intending to stay there for a while until I found a new place to live. The remaining belongings were at Song Huai's place, so I would probably leave them for a while and then come back to get them. Nian was even abroad for business, and would not be back for at least a month. That's why I didn't refuse Xiao Xiao's offer to stay with me this time. My parents called me many times in the past few days, but I didn't pick up. Song Huai didn't bother me either. According to Xiao Xiao, Chan Jia had moved to Song Huai's mother's house, speaking softly and taking care of her wholeheartedly, but no matter how much his mother tried to persuade him, Song Huai had never returned. But that matter to me now was no longer relevant. That day, to celebrate my finding a new home, Xiao Xiao and I decided to go ice skating for a try. When we arrived at the skating rink, maybe because there were still some people, there were not many people very suitable for learning to skate. Xiao Xiao looked brave on the outside, but as soon as she entered the rink, she held tightly to the fence, her lips still trembling. This was no good, I was still afraid of falling. You go ahead, I'll follow after I regain my composure. I was helpless, so I had to grope my way along the fence and move slowly. Actually, I'm not good at keeping a balance, so I don't know how to slide. The last time I came here, it must have been the last time. About half an hour later, I tried to let go of the railing and slowly stood up straight. At that moment, someone slid past me at a very fast speed. I was affected, lost my balance, and was about to fall. Be careful, a warm, familiar male voice rang out beside me. A steady hand grabbed my waist, holding me back. I looked up and held the person. Unexpectedly, it was Tam Trinine. Han had just gotten off the plane, wearing a black windbreaker, his tall figure standing out clearly on the ice rink. As soon as I got off the plane, I received a text from Xiao Xiao, saying that the two of them were going ice skating and asked me to pick them up. He explained the reason for his sudden appearance. Shen Jiran didn't reply further and let go of my waist. Seeing me immediately cling to the railing as if afraid of losing my safety, he was silent for a few seconds then chuckled softly. Having laughed enough, he leisurely took off his coat, put it on the railing and tapped it lightly with his finger. "I'll teach you." This time his voice wasn't as cold as usual, but gentle and comfortable. His smile made my face hot. Suddenly I felt a little competitive. I didn't refuse, I answered frankly. "Then I'll have to trouble you." If it weren't for this ice skating trip, I wouldn't have expected Shen Jinyan to be so patient. He walked very slowly, thoughtfully explaining each move. How to hold the ice ladder, how to skate properly. Except for the time I accidentally fell on him, which made him a little stiff, he was always very calm and gentle. After sliding for a while, I realized that I was almost out of mask. I turned my head back excitedly as if I knew. Tam Trinian looked at me, his voice carrying a smile. "Yes, graduated." His eyes were bright, deep and gentle like a clear lake. He usually looked indifferent, but now he seemed to have something different. I suddenly froze. After leaving the rink, Xiao Xiao was suddenly called back to the company to edit the project, so in the car it was just me and the judge. I thought he would say something, but the whole way he just focused on driving, completely silent. Just when I was starting to wonder if I was thinking too much, he suddenly stopped the car. Actually, I felt very regretful. I was a little stunned, That day, Xiao Xiao called me many times, saying that they couldn't get a car and asked me to come pick them up. But I was busy with the project, so I didn't answer the phone. Then Xiao Xiao called Song Hui. Shen Jinyan tilted his head and looked at me. Actually, the first time I met him was at this skating rink. 3 years ago, I had actually been here once. That day, my father took my 6-year-old sister skating, and conveniently brought me along. At that time, I seemed to be with my family. My father was teaching my younger sister to skate, and I was silently holding onto the railing, watching from afar. Then I tried to let go and skate by myself, but I couldn't do it, so I turned to my father for help. But at that time, my father seemed to be busy, with his back turned to answer the phone. I clenched my hand. Memories that I thought I had forgotten began to become clear as he told me. At that time, someone accidentally bumped into my sister. I reflexively slid forward, using my body to block her. Tam Trinian paused for a moment, his voice suddenly lowered. As a result, my father thought I made my sister fall, so he beat me up, then carried her away, leaving me there alone. He glanced at me and sighed softly. He thought I would feel hurt and cry, but I was very calm as if I was used to it. That afternoon I practiced skating alone, falling many times without making a sound. When I fell really hard, tears welled up in my eyes by reflex. I just quietly raised my hand to wipe them away, and even smiled softly. Only then did I understand it wasn't that I didn't feel wronged, nor that I didn't want to cry. But I'm used to not being able to cry. I'm trying to find a way to save myself. Tam Trinian looked at me for a long time. His voice lowered. That was the first time he felt heartbroken because of a strange girl. I was so angry that it took a long time for me to open my mouth. When I got home, her father apologized. He said that when he returned the skates, someone told him that she was not the one who pushed him. To make up for it, he bought me a very expensive pair of skates. But I never went back to the skating rink again. Suddenly remembering something before I could ask, my friend had already said it. "The person who told your father was you." My heart skipped a beat. I looked at him with a knowing look. "After that, miss, the next time we met, you were already Tong Hai's girlfriend." Getting out of the car, I still hadn't recovered, and ended up almost tripping over a rock. Tam Trinian naturally, or rather habitually, put his hand on my waist, and calmly looked at the road. I didn't look at the road but at him. Just as I was about to say something, a familiar voice rang out from behind me. Tong Hai stood under the tree, his face hazy under the cold moonlight, his expression unclear. When he came closer, I realized that in just 1 month he had lost a lot of weight. His body was exhausted. I opened my mouth and said sarcastically, "Why don't you take care of the woman in your house?" Song Hai didn't seem to hear. His eyes kept glancing back and forth between me and my friend, his voice hoarse. "Are you two that close? How far have you two gone?" The questioning tone made me surprised, thinking I had misheard. "Song Hai, I need to remind you that we no longer have any relationship." He held the person, his expression a little awkward. "Sorry." I don't want to say more and turned around to leave. Tranjai not pregnant. His words made me pause. I tilted my head and looked at him. What did he say? Tong Hoi looked at me, her little maid moved slightly. That pregnancy test result was not hers. She had a friend of the same age, also named Tranjai, who had recently become pregnant. She stole her friend's pregnancy test results. I was stunned for a moment. By reflex, I looked at Tam Trinian just as he was looking at me. We both read the same sentence in each other's eyes. Perhaps Tranjai really was sick. Yesterday, he and Tranjai had a big argument. She told them everything, including the fact that he got drunk that day and woke up the next morning without remembering anything. Actually, he and she didn't do anything. Before Tong Hoi could finish speaking, the judge smiled faintly, his voice wild. If he hadn't gone to the final step, it wouldn't count as doing anything. It was like a butcher killing a pig, shaving off the hair, cleaning it just because in the end he couldn't eat the pork. Then it doesn't count as doing anything with the pig. Speaking of this, Song Haoi's face became more and more unsightly, and Shen Jinyan only spoke indifferently. It was just a metaphor. After a long silence, Song Haoi turned to look at me. TT, you called my name, right? No matter what I say or do, you will never forgive me, right? I don't hesitate, right? Tong Hoi froze on the spot and whispered. But Tranjai wasn't pregnant. She left, the problem between us was solved. At that time I was about to forgive you. I was silent for a moment and then suddenly interrupted him. Do you remember that broken watch in your drawer? Song Hoi paused and then nodded hesitantly. That watch, he always regretted not wanting to throw it away, saying it was a gift from a relative. But in fact it was given to him by Tranjai, right? I asked very softly, but my eyes were sharp. Do you know how I found out? Song Hoi moved his lips but couldn't say anything. That day at the class reunion, Tranjai sent him a photo of the two of them together from the past. Couple watches, right? Song Hoi's face was like stone. I smiled faintly. The one who hurt you was never her. It was me, the one who gave her the chance to hurt you again and again. Tong Hoi's eyes were already red. Now they were even redder. Looking at his pale face, I said softly, from now on I don't want to see you again. In the end, from that day on, Tong Hoi never appeared before me again. After I moved to the new house, Xiao Xiao often came to sleep over, saying that she was used to sleeping with me. Every night, Nian even video called her. After a few small talk, he would naturally turn the camera to me. She used to send me provocative messages, but now she acts like she has nothing to do with it. The three of us often go hiking on weekends, but Xiao Xiao always complains of being tired and gives up halfway. So every trip was just me and Tam Chinian. Of course I knew she was deliberately creating opportunities. I also knew I didn't reject Tam Chinian. It's just that, if I were to really start a new relationship, I wasn't completely ready. Until one day, Xiao Xiao couldn't hold back anymore, and brought me a diary from Shen Jinyan. If it was a diary, it wouldn't have been written down much, but if it wasn't a diary, it would have had a few lines every day. Specifically, from the day we met again, after he knew that he was busy with work and couldn't pick me up that day, he wrote a single sentence every day. The project one then failed. 8 short words as heavy as 1,000 pounds. I was stunned. It wasn't until Tam Chinian walked in and awkwardly snatched the notebook from my hand that I came back to my senses. He coughed lightly, pretending to be calm, just writing for fun. I was lying like a tangled mess, but seeing his red-faced and red-handed appearance, I couldn't help but laugh. Like the clouds clearing, all the confusion and hesitation in my heart also disappeared. I used to lack a sense of security. I used to yearn for a pure, sincere, wholehearted love. And that person, wasn't he standing right in front of me? Thinking so, I took a deep breath and signaled him to give me back the notebook. Tam Chinian was a bit vicious, but still handed it to me. I bent down, opened the notebook, took a pen from the pen holder, and seriously crossed out the first 6 words. Then stood up, looked straight into his eyes, pointed at the remaining 2 words, read them. Tam Chinian replied, then laughed softly, my dear wife. I blushed softly, replied, yes. That's all for now. Thank you for taking the time to listen. Don't forget to like and subscribe to hear more great stories. Goodbye and see you again.